Hello my darlings, welcome to the video. In this video I want to talk about planets, suns, constellations and cosmic spheres of consciousness. And when I say cosmic spheres of consciousness, this is exactly what I mean. The spheres of the planets, the suns, the constellations. And then the galaxies, but that's a little bit further away. It's a little bit too far from us. Like, if as a collective humanity understands the nature of the sun and the planets and then the constellations, that's enough. So basically, all of the lights that we see in the sky are living beings. I have some notes here and I'm kind of reading them to you right now. So all of the lights that we see in the sky are living beings. When I say lights, what I mean is the stars and the planets. Because to some extent we can also see the planets as stars, some of them. But basically all of them are alive. All stars and planets are alive. Every celestial body is a somebody, a living being. There are people who look at astrology in a very mathematical way, a very even scientifical way, and they just say that, oh, the people of the past, they just looked in the sky and they noticed the movement of the planets, and based on that they said, well, when when we have this placement, this happens, so based on that they understood what is the nature of that planet. That's what they think and what they say, but that's not how it was. The knowledge of astrology was not given to humans. It was not discovered by humans like that. The knowledge of astrology was given to humans by higher beings. And some of those beings are themselves incarnate in those higher spheres. So astrology is not just a science like people understand science nowadays, which is just devoid of soul. Astrology is a spiritual science, and I'd be very, very glad if humans finally come back to that understanding of astrology. In the past, in the ancient past of humanity, people knew this. You have cultures all across the world in antiquity where all of these planets are called gods and goddesses. Well, why do you think that happened? Because the ancient people were a lot smarter than they are given credit nowadays. And when I say the ancient people, I mean really ancient people. I don't just mean the times of Plato, and Socrates. That's not the kind of antiquity I'm talking about. If anything, the time of Plato and Socrates was a time when they were getting more and more masculine in the way they were thinking, and more skeptical and more rigid. They were losing spirituality in those times. When I say ancient times, I really mean ancient times, times that are lost to nowadays history. For a reason, because nowadays people, the ones that are in control, do not want the great collective of humanity to understand their real past, a past when they were smarter and more aware. things, of a lot of things. This is one of those things that they were aware of. The fact that above the human sphere of existence, there is life as well. And I'm not just talking about the spirit world at this point. I'm talking about still the manifested world. Above the human sphere, above, and not just human sphere, you know, above the type of life that you can have when you come incarnate on a planet. Above that, there are other spheres of incarnation. One of them is the type of incarnation as a planet, and then as a sun. And then we have the constellations, the spirits of the constellations. Well, when we talk about that, it gets a little bit more interesting, because those spirits, it's a little bit, you know, they don't quite come as incarnate as the human form is, you know, because the human form is really incarnate, like actual flesh. The consciousnesses of the constellations, they are so high, so close to the non-physical, to the spirit world. And basically a constellation is a group of stars. So it makes sense that they are so high. And coming back to our more direct existence, I want to talk about Gaia. Gaia, Mother Earth, you know, there you have it. The ancients called her Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. They knew about this. They knew she's a living being. And when I say the ancients, I don't just mean the ancient Greeks, because you have this in a lot of mythologies. And if we look at the Hindu philosophy, when I say Hindu philosophy, you know, I mean like the whole realm of Hindu spirituality. You see that they also call her a mother. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Bhumata, which means Mother Earth. So, she was called a mother by the ancients. And there's no mistake here, because they understood that this is her nature. She is like a mother. Because she is the mother archetype, our cosmic mother archetype, at least in this solar system. And for this solar system, she is the equivalent of the heart chakra. Because for a solar system, the planets function similarly to how our chakras function. And the Earth, Gaia, like I said, she is the equivalent of the heart space. And this is so gorgeous, so beautiful. As I said, every planet in a solar system is like a chakra in the greater unity of that system. The planets are living beings in themselves, each one unique, and they also function as individual entities. So there is this dual perspective. Basically, each of these beings is a being of their own. Hold on, I want to turn off those lights. They kind of annoy me when they get flickering like that. I hope they'll stay like this. Okay, so I was talking about the planets, and there is a dual perspective when it comes to the planets and the suns as well, because each of them function as individual entities and as entities part of a collective consciousness, just like humans. So when it comes to themselves as individual entities, each one of them is unique. Each one of them has certain traits, certain characteristics, and astrology knows about each one of them. And again, this is what I want to bring into the awareness of people, the fact that they are not just lifeless pieces of rock or gas in the sky floating around, and they are just symbols. Because a lot of people out there, they just say, this is what they say about astrology, you know, even a lot of people who are astrologers themselves. I think this is such a joke. A lot of people who are astrologers themselves, they say, they don't have this type of understanding of the planets. They look at the planets as, you know, just planets, just floating rocks in the sky, huge rocks in the sky, or masses of gas in the sky that just roam around, and that's it. And they just symbolize stuff for the consciousness of humanity. And what? I'm sorry, what? How can that be? No, seriously, how can that be? Doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense. And that's the point. For these people, it makes sense that those planets are lifeless, and so are suns and all of that, and they are just symbols. They're not. They are living beings, literally. How else could they actually have influence on our life by being lifeless? How could that happen if they were just floating pieces of rock in the sky? You know, if they were just floating pieces of rock in the sky, they wouldn't affect us. They wouldn't have any kind of influence on our lives. But they do. And that's for a reason. They have life. They are alive. Okay, so when we look at them individually, each one of them is unique. But then they all form a solar system. And for the collective consciousness of the solar system, each one of them, like I said, functions like a chakra in this system. Okay. Then on the next level, we have the suns. And the suns themselves form higher consciousnesses. And these are the constellations. So there are groups of stars which are beings of their own. They are the refracted light of higher realms of the spirit world. Again, there's something here that I want to clarify. I saw some people who say that the constellations are souls who went on their journeys and they ended their soul journeys long ago, and then they became constellations, and no, that's not really how it goes. They were created like that. Those beings who are so high in the hierarchies of existence, they were created like that. There's a reason why they were created like that, because they're not supposed to mess things around, you know. When souls come incarnate on a planet, I'm sorry, but they mess things up. Look at humans, okay? Look at the state of nowadays humanity. Not good. So for beings to exist on such a high level, they're kind of not allowed to mess things up. You know? And on another hand, you have this also in myth. There's a myth in Hindu philosophy, Hindu mythology, that says that the Divine Mother herself, called Aditi. So basically the Divine Mother has many forms. One of them is called Aditi. And in that form, she created the cosmic beings. The ones we see as constellations, and then planets, suns, all of them. So those souls are not souls that were incarnate as humans ages ago, and then they ascended to come incarnate as planets or suns or something else. No. Let's not mess things around. They were created. These beings they're not stupid, okay? Humans are stupid. There's a difference. That's why humans have to come incarnate again and again and again and again, because basically humans have to learn to stop being stupid. Okay. So the stars, the suns, are the bridges between matter, the material world, and spirit, the spirit world. Or, as I call it, the non-physical world. So the star consciousness is very, very powerful, very, very potent. And there aren't only masculine suns, there are also feminine suns. I also want to point out that some constellations have a leading sun. Others have 2 or more leading suns. Basically, a leading sun is a guide for the other suns in that constellation. It's similar to how the elder souls within soul family are guiding the younger souls of that soul family. Then there are groups of constellations that have a central sun. All other stars gravitate around this central sun as much as planets rotate around their sun or suns. One of the central suns is the blue star Sirius. Our sun rotates around Sirius. And you see it in ancient myth as well, those beings actually came incarnate on Earth. Every now and then they come incarnate as avatars. And there's a reason for that, because they come incarnate to anchor in a new wave of consciousness for the collective of that planet. And long ago, the sun of the solar system came incarnate as Horus, and then we also, well, not then, sorry, I'm missing things around. First it was his mother, Isis, and then she gave birth to him as Horus. So those were their human avatars, Isis and Horus, but that's the way they did it in the human world is a reflection of how they are in the cosmos, in the galaxy. Sirius is the central sun, and then Horus, our sun, is her child. Literally, he is her child. And Sirius herself came incarnate as Isis. The ancient Egyptians knew that Sirius is the star of Isis. But Sirius is not just the star of Isis. Sirius is Isis, literally. The soul who came incarnate as Isis, goddess Isis, is the soul who is the sun, Sirius, the blue star, Sirius. And that sun is a central sun. Other suns rotate around that sun, and that's why that sun is so powerful and so high in consciousness. And basically, that is the Divine Mother herself incarnate as a sun in this galaxy, yes. Isis is one of the avatars of literally the Divine Mother herself, the Divine Feminine, the goddess. And through the portal of her incarnation as the blue star Sirius, she came incarnate as goddess Isis. Now, the Divine Masculine is the constellation Orion. And through the portal of that constellation, he came incarnate as God Shiva and as Osiris. I know some people I don't know how many other people know this, but it's the same being. Shiva, God Shiva, is the Divine Masculine. And a few ages later, he also came incarnate as the god Osiris. And his incarnations happened through the portal of Orion. And you see this explained as well in Hindu books when he manifests himself as God Shiva. He says that he did so through the constellation of Ardra, which is the constellation Orion. Okay. So this is what I wanted to clarify about the nature of cosmic beings. Now, when we're talking about human souls, and not just human souls, basically the souls of collectives living on a planet. Prior to coming incarnate in this type of body, the soul goes through prisms. Prisms. Those are the constellations. Basically, they are prisms of consciousness. You know how you have the light and then pure light expands into the rainbow, into the colors. That's also how it happens with higher consciousnesses, and then they expand into smaller versions of the unity, which are the suns, and then the planets, and then on a lesser level the consciousnesses of beings coming incarnate on planets. So the constellations are prisms of consciousness, and they prepare the soul for the incarnations. This is why astrology is so important. The native chart is the map of one's life. It shows the celestial road the soul took to come incarnate into the body. After going through the prisms of consciousness, the soul also goes through the spheres of the planets. Because the planets are also portals of consciousness. Remember, they are alive as well. And from a human perspective, we say that the planets govern zodiac signs. But that's because we look at the zodiac from the human perspective. But truly, cosmically, it is the constellations that are guiding the planets. Because the planets themselves are portals for the energies of the constellations. So basically the planets are like messengers or portals of those constellations. They anchor into this realm of existence the energies of those constellations. And when the soul gets ready for incarnation, right at the moment of birth, the soul goes through all of the constellations. Some souls, depending how evolved they are, they also go through the constellations that are not part of the zodiac. But that's up to each soul in particular and their origin. What I mean by this is, starseeds. Obviously, they will also go through some other constellations before coming incarnate on this planet, because they literally originate from another sphere. But native souls of this realm, most of them come incarnate through the constellations of the zodiac, and depending on how evolved they are, they may they may traverse some of the neighboring constellations as well. And then they go through the spheres of the planets, and then they merge with the body a little bit prior to the, just slightly prior to the actual moment of the birth. So that's literally how you carry the energies of those constellations, because you went through them when you came incarnate, when you merged, when you fully merged with the body you are in right now. So you went through all of them, you literally went through the sky. Now, the souls who are young souls, when this happens, they don't follow this journey alone, because they're young and they don't really know that much. So always for unexperienced souls, this journey happens with guides. Mostly it's angels that guide them through the constellations and the planets. Well, not the planets themselves, the realms of the planets. But for souls who are more evolved, they can do this more or less unassisted. But still, for most souls, this journey happens with the presence of your guides there as well. And the presence of beings from higher spheres, beings that are not anchored in the material world, because they are there to assist you and to make sure that this whole process happens nicely, smoothly, without any kind of dangers. Okay, and that is how you're able to carry that energy through your existence in the current lifetime. And then, that's why astrology is so important. Because it's literally the map of your journey for this lifetime. Okay, so I hope this knowledge helped a lot of people. I hope it will continue to help a lot of people. For questions and for requests about readings and assistance, my email is in the description, and I wish you all the best.